I accidentally saw the alien girl bathing. She smirked instead of screaming. Now, at 28, he was finally on a mission that could answer some of those questions. He was a human explorer, part of the Galactic Survey Corps, and his job was to study new worlds, collect samples, and, if he was lucky, make contact with intelligent life. The planet he had landed on today was unlike anything he had imagined. Named Zephyria by the survey team, it had a bright green surface, dotted with towering crystal trees that shimmered in the sunlight. The air smelled sweet, like a mixture of honey and mint, and tiny floating creatures buzzed past him, their wings glinting like little gems. Jace felt a thrill of excitement as he stepped out of his landing craft. He had come here to survey the surface, check for life signs, and take photographs for the Corps records. He carried a small scanner, a notebook, and a backpack with food and supplies. As he walked deeper into the forest, he noticed the ground became soft and slightly warm. The scanner beeped softly, picking up unusual energy readings ahead. Curious, Jace followed the signal. After a short walk, he found himself in a hidden valley. A soft mist hung in the air, and the sunlight danced on the water of a small spring. But what caught his attention was not the spring itself, it was the figure in it. A girl was bathing in the water. At first, he thought she was some kind of hologram or illusion, because she looked unlike any creature he had ever seen. Her skin shimmered faintly, reflecting the colors of the surroundings. Her eyes were large and bright, glowing with a soft light, and her hair floated gently in the mist, colored like silver and gold mixed together. She moved with an elegance that seemed almost unreal. Jace froze, unsure of what to do. He had not expected to see intelligent life here, and certainly not someone so beautiful and calm. He quickly realized she had noticed him. She did not scream or run. She simply smirked. The smirk was playful, almost teasing, and it made Jace feel both nervous and intrigued. He knew he had to be careful. Any sudden movement, any loud sound could scare her, or worse, make her defensive. Hello," Jace said softly, trying not to startle her. I'm Jace. I didn't mean to intrude." The girl tilted her head, her glowing eyes studying him. Then she raised a hand and pointed at a patch of moss nearby, as if inviting him to sit. Jace blinked. He was not sure if this was a trap, a test, or a genuine gesture. Still, he slowly stepped closer, keeping his movements calm and careful. He settled on the moss, keeping a respectful distance from the spring. "I come in peace," he said. "I'm an explorer, I mean no harm." The girl laughed softly, a sound like wind chimes. She reached into the water and lifted a small crystal from the bottom of the spring. She held it out to him. Jace hesitated, then reached forward to take it. The crystal was warm, and tiny sparks of light moved inside it. He marveled at it. What is this?" he asked. The girl's smirk widened, and she tapped the crystal against her chest. Light flowed from the crystal into her skin, making her shimmer even brighter. Then she pointed at Jace, as if telling him to watch. He did, amazed, as the crystal's light spread into the water around her. The spring began to glow softly, and the mist above it shimmered with colors he had no names for. Jace's mind raced. He had seen bioluminescent creatures before, but this was different. This was intelligence using natural energy, shaping it almost like art. He realized this girl was not only alive, she was advanced, and probably far more intelligent than humans expected from a first encounter. I have never seen anything like this," Jace said. His voice was full of awe. "Your world, it's incredible." The girl nodded, her eyes glimmering. Then she pointed toward the forest and made a gesture as if to say, "Follow me." Jace felt a mixture of excitement and caution. He wanted to learn more, but he also knew he could not rush. Any sudden mistake could ruin this first contact. He nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll follow," he said. The girl rose from the spring with graceful movements, water sliding off her skin like liquid light. She did not wear clothes in the human sense, but Jace noticed the mist and the crystals around the spring created a natural covering, making the scene serene rather than inappropriate. She seemed comfortable, confident, and entirely unafraid of him. As they walked together through the valley, Jace realized how different Zephyria was from Earth. The plants responded to their steps, some glowing brighter when touched. Small creatures peeked from behind crystal trunks, observing the strangers. The girl paused occasionally, touching the plants or the water, and it felt like she was teaching him the secrets of her world without words. Jace tried to communicate. "Do you understand me?" he asked. The girl nodded, then pointed to his scanner. He showed her the device, explaining in gestures that it measured energy and recorded information. She touched it lightly, and it lit up with a soft hum. Jace realized she could interact with his technology, but in a way that was completely natural to her. They continued walking, moving toward a part of the forest where the trees grew taller and the air smelled even sweeter. The girl paused at a clearing and turned to face him. She smiled, not the teasing smirk from before, but a gentle, curious smile. Jace felt a warmth in his chest. He had discovered something extraordinary, something no human had seen before. He had not planned to meet an intelligent alien today, but now that he had, he knew his life had changed forever. He wanted to ask her questions, learn about her world, understand her abilities. But he also knew he had to be patient. First contact required trust, respect, and observation. He watched her closely, noticing every gesture, every glow of light, every movement that seemed to communicate without words. Hours passed. The sunlight shifted, and the valley began to glow with the soft light of Zephyr's twin moons. Jace and the girl returned to the spring. She gestured for him to sit again, and he did, feeling a strange sense of comfort despite the alien surroundings. For the first time, Jace felt that humans were not alone in the universe. He also realized that if humanity wanted to survive and thrive among the stars, they would need to learn from beings like this girl, beings who lived in harmony with their world, who understood the flow of energy, and who could teach humans new ways of thinking. As night fell, the spring glowed under the twin moons, and Jace sat beside the girl, feeling both awe and excitement. He knew this was only the beginning of his journey on Zephyria. The girl's smirk returned, playful and knowing, as if she understood that their story had just begun. Jace smiled back, ready to explore, ready to learn, and ready to show humanity that curiosity, courage, and respect could open doors to worlds beyond imagination. The morning sun rose over the valley, casting warm golden light over the crystal trees and the shimmering spring. Jace awoke to the sound of soft, melodic chimes, the song of Zephyria's tiny floating creatures. He stretched, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Yesterday had been unlike anything he had ever experienced. He had discovered not only an intelligent alien species but one who welcomed him, or at least did not reject him outright. Lyra, the alien girl, was already awake. She hovered near the spring, her body glowing faintly in the morning light. When she noticed Jace stirring, she smiled and beckoned him to follow her. Today, it seemed, she intended to show him more of her world. Jace grabbed his small pack and followed. He kept his movements slow, respectful. He did not want to alarm her or disturb the delicate balance of the valley. Lyra led him to a narrow path winding through the crystal forest. The trees here were taller than anything on Earth, their trunks shining like glass. Leaves glimmered in shades of blue and green, and small, glowing flowers opened and closed rhythmically, like breathing. "Beautiful," Jace whispered, though he wasn't sure she could understand him. She tilted her head and made a soft, humming sound, which he guessed was her version of laughter or acknowledgement. As they walked, Jace tried to learn more about Lyra's culture. "Do you live here?" he asked, pointing to the spring and the surrounding valley. She nodded, then gestured for him to wait while she touched one of the glowing trees. The tree responded instantly. The leaves glowed brighter and a soft pulse of light ran through its trunk. Jace's eyes widened. You communicate with plants, he said in awe. Lyra's smirk returned, playful and slightly teasing. She reached out and touched his hand, showing him the connection. When he placed his fingers on a nearby branch, he felt a subtle vibration, like the tree was alive in a way he could sense but not fully understand. They continued, moving deeper into the forest. Jace noticed that everything here seemed connected. The air felt alive, and even the water in the streams shimmered faintly with energy. He realized that Lyra's people had learned to live in harmony with their environment, understanding its energy and responding naturally. As they walked, Jace tried to use gestures to communicate more clearly. He drew shapes in the air with his finger, showing how humans counted, measured, and recorded information. Lyra observed carefully. Then she drew glowing patterns in the air with her hands, patterns that shimmered and hovered before fading. Jace watched in amazement. These patterns were beautiful, like a combination of mathematics and art. "It's a language?" Jace asked. Lyra nodded and then made a series of soft, melodic sounds. He listened closely, realizing that each sound had a tone and rhythm that added meaning to the glowing patterns. He tried to repeat the sounds, stumbling over the alien tones. Lyra laughed gently, not unkindly, and demonstrated again, slower this time. Hours passed in this way. Jace learned about the basics of her language, and Lyra learned a few simple human words. They shared small jokes, laughed at mistakes, and began to understand each other beyond words. For the first time, Jace felt a true connection with an alien being, not just a scientific curiosity. At midday, Lyra led Jace to a clearing where a small waterfall poured into a crystal-clear pond. She gestured for him to sit, and then dove into the water with graceful ease. Jace watched, fascinated, as the water itself seemed to respond to her presence, glowing softly and flowing around her as if alive. "You control it?" Jace asked. Lyra shook her head, smiling. She gestured broadly at the pond and the waterfall. He realized she wasn't controlling it in the way humans might control machines. Instead, she was connected to it, sensing its energy and moving in harmony with it. Tentatively, Jace stepped into the pond. The water was warm and comforting. As he moved, he felt a strange resonance, a gentle vibration that matched the rhythm of the spring. Lyra swam beside him, showing him how to sense the flow rather than force it. Jace laughed with delight as he discovered he could move with the water, not against it. After some time, they left the pond and continued their exploration. Lyra led him to a hill overlooking the valley. From there, Jace could see the entire forest spread out like a glowing sea of crystals and plants. Small creatures flitted between the trees, some shaped like birds, others more like insects, all shimmering with soft light. Lyra pointed toward a distant structure, barely visible through the mist. It looked like a dome, made entirely of crystal and living vines. "Home?" Jace asked. She nodded. Curious, he asked, "Do many of your people live here?" She made a gesture with her hands, showing a gathering of figures. Then she pointed to herself and to him. Jace realized she was explaining something about individuality versus community. Her people lived in harmony, not just with the environment but with each other, respecting boundaries and connections alike. Jace felt a pang of envy. Humanity, he thought, could learn a lot from this. Cooperation, understanding, respect for life. It was something humans often struggled with, but Lyra's people seemed to have mastered it naturally. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, Lyra guided him back to the spring. She gestured for him to rest while she prepared something for him. Jace watched as she moved gracefully, plucking glowing herbs and placing them into a small pool of water. Steam rose gently, carrying a sweet, calming scent. "This tea?" Jace asked, guessing. Lyra nodded, smiling. She handed him a small cup which glowed faintly in his hands. He sipped carefully, and a warm, comforting sensation spread through his body. He felt more alert, more connected to the valley, more aware of the energy around him. "You humans could benefit," he said slowly, marveling at the taste and effect. Lyra's eyes glimmered as if she understood his thoughts perfectly. They sat together in silence, watching the twin moons rise over the valley. Jace felt a sense of peace he had never known. The universe was vast and full of wonders, but here, with Lyra and the living world around him, he understood a small piece of it. He understood what it meant to truly live in harmony, to respect and learn from every being and every living thing. Finally, he spoke, almost to himself. If humanity could see this, if we could learn from this, maybe we could be better. Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes soft and understanding. She reached out, touching his hand in a gesture of reassurance. Jace realized that trust had been established, that their connection was genuine. They were not just observer and alien, human and stranger. They were partners in discovery, in learning, in understanding. Night fully settled over the valley, and the glowing plants cast gentle light over the forest. Jace felt both tired and exhilarated. He had learned so much today, not just about Lyra or Zephyria, but about himself and humanity's potential. The universe was full of mysteries, but the first step was curiosity, courage, and respect for life, no matter how strange it seemed. As he drifted to sleep under the gentle glow of the spring, he knew tomorrow would bring more lessons. He would explore more of Lyra's world, understand her culture more deeply, and perhaps in the process learn how humans could grow and rise to meet the challenges of the universe. For now, he was content. He had met a being unlike any other, experienced wonders beyond imagination, and begun a journey that could change not just his life, but the fate of humanity itself. Lyra smiled in the soft moonlight, her smirk playful yet knowing. She had chosen to trust a human, and in doing so, she had opened the door to a friendship and understanding that could span worlds. The next morning, Jace woke to a faint vibration in the air. The valley seemed quieter than usual. Even the floating creatures that normally zipped around the crystal trees appeared to hover in cautious stillness. Something was different. He felt a subtle unease. Lyra was already awake. She hovered near the spring, her glowing eyes scanning the forest. When she saw Jace stirring, she motioned urgently for him to come closer. Her usually playful smirk was replaced by a serious expression. "What is it?" Jace asked, though he could see from her gestures that words alone would not convey the danger. Lyra pointed toward the edge of the valley, where the crystal forest thickened into shadowy canopies. Then she made a rapid motion, like a swooping creature, and spread her hands wide as if warning him of a large, fast-moving entity. Jace's pulse quickened. He had trained for emergencies on human expeditions, but nothing had prepared him for this. An intelligent alien leading him into unknown territory and a threat he could not yet see. He nodded, signaling he understood. Together, they moved quietly toward the valley's edge. Lyra's movements were graceful and silent, and Jace did his best to keep up. The forest here was dense. Trees stretched high, their glowing leaves creating streaks of colored light in the shadows. Every step felt tense, as though the valley itself was holding its breath. Then they saw it. A large creature, unlike anything Jace had ever encountered, moved through the shadows. Its body was covered in tough, iridescent scales, and it had long, flexible limbs ending in sharp claws. Its eyes glowed faintly red, and its head swiveled with alarming speed, scanning the surroundings. It was clearly hunting, and when it spotted Lyra and Jace, it emitted a low, rumbling growl. Jace froze. This was the first real danger he had faced on Zephyria. He had studied alien wildlife before, but nothing prepared him for a creature that combined intelligence, speed, and sheer physical power. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, guiding him to a nearby rock formation. She gestured for him to stay hidden while she observed the creature. Jace could see the creature's movements were calculated. It was not mindless. It had patterns, strategies, and patience. "Stay calm," Lyra said, her glowing eyes meeting his. He nodded, feeling the adrenaline rush through him. The creature advanced slowly, testing the terrain. Lyra made a series of hand gestures and melodic sounds, and Jace realized she was communicating with the energy of the forest. The plants around them responded subtly. The glowing leaves swayed, branches shifted, and even the soft moss on the ground seemed to pulse with energy. Jace watched in amazement. Lyra was not controlling the plants. She was connecting with them, sensing their energy and using it to gain awareness of the creature's movements. The forest itself became an ally. The creature paused, sensing the subtle energy changes. It sniffed the air, then roared, a sound so loud that it made Jace's ears ring. The ground vibrated beneath them. Jace's heart pounded, but he held his position, trusting Lyra's calm confidence. Lyra then gestured toward him. Jace realized she wanted him to act. He scanned his backpack, looking for anything useful. His small scanner could detect energy signatures, and he had a few compact tools for field work. He picked up the scanner and aimed it at the creature. The device beeped and pulsed in response to the alien energy flowing around it. Jace remembered something from his training. Unusual energy frequencies could startle creatures without harming them. He adjusted the settings and emitted a low, oscillating hum. The creature stopped, confused by the unfamiliar sound. It took a cautious step back. Jace repeated the hum, varying the frequency slightly. Slowly, the creature's aggressive posture softened. It was alert but not attacking. Lyra smiled faintly, impressed. She added her own melodic sound to the rhythm, creating a harmony that resonated through the forest. The combination of human technology and her energy manipulation created a unique effect. The creature hesitated and eventually retreated into the shadows. Jace exhaled, relief flooding him. He had faced danger and survived, but he knew this was only the beginning. Zephyria was beautiful, but it was also alive in ways humans had never experienced, and its creatures could be deadly. Lyra gestured for him to follow her deeper into the valley. She wanted him to see how her people prepared for such dangers. Jace followed cautiously, still aware of the potential for more threats. They arrived at a series of crystal structures embedded in the hillside. These were clearly homes, though unlike anything Jace had seen. They were made of living crystal and intertwined vines, forming domes that glowed softly from within. Small channels ran along the structures, carrying water that pulsed with energy. Lyra gestured for him to enter. Inside, the space was breathtaking. The walls shimmered with soft light, and plants grew in perfect harmony with the crystal structures. Figures moved gracefully through the space, glowing in various colors. They watched Jace carefully, curious but not hostile. Lyra introduced him to a few of her people through gestures and glowing patterns. Jace was amazed at how intelligent and organized they were. They did not speak in human words, but their energy and movements conveyed meaning clearly. One elder approached Lyra and Jace. The elder's glow was brighter than the others, and it radiated calm authority. Lyra gestured toward Jace and then toward the creature they had encountered. The elder observed, then touched the ground with a glowing hand. Energy rippled outward, and the entire structure seemed to respond. Jace realized they were demonstrating a form of collective defense. The crystals, the plants, the energy, all of it worked together to protect the community from threats. He felt awe and inspiration. Humanity had advanced technology, but it had rarely learned to live in harmony with nature in this way. The elder then communicated a message through glowing patterns and melodic tones. Jace struggled at first, but he began to understand. Harmony and observation guide safety. Fear is unnecessary. Courage paired with respect protects life. Jace nodded, absorbing the lesson. He thought of human explorers who often rushed into dangerous situations without understanding their surroundings. Here, intelligence, patience, and harmony created safety and resilience. Lyra guided him to a training area where young members of her species practiced controlling the energy of the environment. They moved gracefully, lifting water, guiding plant growth, and sensing vibrations in the ground. Jace marveled at their skill. Humans could learn, he said softly. Lyra's smile confirmed he was correct. After observing for a while, Lyra led him outside again. The sun was dipping low, casting long shadows through the crystal trees. They walked quietly, reflecting on the day. "You are brave," Lyra said through gestures and melodic tones, showing admiration. Jace smiled, humbled. Courage was important, he realized, but it was the combination of courage, intelligence, and respect for life that truly mattered. As they returned to the spring, Jace noticed the valley had changed slightly. The forest seemed more alert, as if acknowledging the earlier threat. Lyra gestured toward the spring, indicating it was time to rest. Jace sat beside her, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had faced danger today, learned the depth of Lyra's culture, and discovered that humans could indeed rise to challenges with courage, curiosity, and cooperation. The universe was vast and unpredictable, but he felt more prepared than ever to meet it. As the twin moons rose, casting silver light over the valley, Jace realized something important. Humanity was capable of great things, not just in technology or conquest, but in understanding, learning, and living in harmony with worlds beyond Earth. Lyra floated beside him, her glow soft and comforting. She had trusted him in the face of danger, and he had trusted her guidance. Together, they had overcome a threat that neither could have faced alone. For Jace, this was more than a mission. It was a lesson, a glimpse of what humanity could become when courage, respect, and intelligence worked together. And for Lyra, it was the beginning of a friendship that could bridge species, worlds, and understanding itself. The night deepened, and the valley glowed softly under the moons. Jace closed his eyes, letting the calm energy of Zephyria flow through him. He was ready for whatever tomorrow would bring, more discoveries, more challenges, and more opportunities to prove that humans could rise to meet the stars with courage, wisdom, and respect. The morning air on Zephyria was cool and crisp. Mist curled among the crystal trees, catching the first rays of sunlight and scattering them into tiny rainbows. Jace woke with a sense of anticipation. After yesterday's encounter with the hunting creature, he knew that Zephyria was not just beautiful, it was alive, powerful, and full of surprises. Lyra was already awake, hovering near the spring. Her glow was soft, almost gentle, but there was a sharpness in her eyes that Jace had learned to recognize. Something had changed overnight. She gestured for him to follow, and he did, sensing urgency in her movements. They moved quickly through the valley, keeping to hidden paths and shadowed undergrowth. Lyra occasionally paused, scanning the forest, her body pulsing with soft light. Jace noticed that the air felt heavier here, as if the valley itself was tense. After a short walk, they reached a ridge overlooking a large clearing. Jace froze. Below, a massive creature moved through the forest. It was unlike the first one they had encountered. This one was enormous, with multiple limbs and armored plates covering its body. Its eyes glowed a deep crimson, and its roar echoed through the valley, shaking leaves from the trees. Lyra's glow intensified as she watched. She made a series of melodic tones, and the surrounding plants seemed to respond, their light pulsing in time with her signals. Jace realized that she was communicating with the environment, calling on the energy of the forest to alert them to danger. "This is much bigger than before," Jace whispered, both afraid and exhilarated. He checked his scanner. The creature emitted a powerful energy signature, far beyond anything he had seen on Zephyria. Its presence alone could destabilize the valley if it chose to move recklessly. Lyra gestured for him to stay low while she observed. She then pointed to the crystal domes of her people's village in the distance. It was clear that the creature might threaten the community if not stopped. Jace's heart pounded. He understood that this was no ordinary test. This was survival. They began descending carefully toward the forest floor. Lyra moved with grace, her glow dimming when necessary to avoid detection. Jace followed, trying to keep silent, his senses alert to every sound. The forest was alive with subtle energy, and Jace could feel the vibrations through his feet and hands. When they were close enough, Lyra gestured toward a narrow path leading behind the creature. "Trap?" Jace asked, using simple gestures. She nodded, showing him that they would attempt to guide it away from the village rather than fight directly. Jace set up his small field devices, oscillators that could emit energy frequencies designed to distract or redirect the creature. Lyra contributed by channeling her energy into the plants, causing the vines and glowing flowers to pulse and shift. Together, human technology and alien ability combined. The creature paused, sniffing the air, sensing the disturbance. It roared and began to move toward the village, each step shaking the ground. Jace felt a surge of adrenaline. He adjusted the oscillator's frequencies, creating a pattern designed to attract the creature's attention away from the village. Lyra moved beside him, her melodic tones flowing in harmony with the frequencies. The plants around the clearing responded. Vines grew quickly, forming barriers that forced the creature to change direction. The combined efforts of Jace and Lyra began to work. The creature hesitated, confused by the coordinated signals and the shifting forest. It roared again, thrashing its limbs and smashing through smaller trees. But the larger trees and crystal structures remained intact, absorbing and redirecting the force. Jace realized that fear alone could not defeat this threat. It was intelligence, strategy, and cooperation that would save them. He adjusted his devices once more, testing different rhythms and frequencies. Lyra responded instantly, her glowing energy synchronizing with his signals. Together, they created a dynamic flow of energy that the creature could not anticipate. For several tense minutes, the struggle continued. Jace felt sweat dripping down his forehead, his muscles aching from the tension. Lyra's glow flickered as she exerted herself, channeling more energy to maintain control of the environment. Finally, the creature paused, confused and exhausted. It had been guided away from the village and was now moving slowly toward a deep canyon, where it could not harm the community. Jace exhaled, relief flooding him. The danger had been averted, not by weapons or force, but by intelligence, observation, and cooperation. Lyra smiled faintly, her eyes glowing softly. She gestured for him to follow her back to the village. As they returned, Jace felt a sense of pride and humility. Humans were capable of great ingenuity, but when combined with the wisdom and harmony of other species, they could achieve even more. Zephyria had shown him that courage alone was not enough. Respect, understanding, and careful thinking were equally important. Back at the crystal domes, Lyra introduced Jace to more of her people. They observed him with curiosity, sensing his energy and assessing his intentions. Jace bowed slightly, acknowledging their presence and expressing respect. Though he could not speak their language fully, his gestures and calm demeanor conveyed sincerity. The elders of the community approached Lyra and Jace. Through glowing patterns and melodic tones, they communicated gratitude for his help. Jace listened carefully, trying to absorb every nuance of their communication. He realized that the aliens' culture was built on balance, trust, and mutual protection, a philosophy that humans could learn from. Lyra led him to a high platform overlooking the village. From here, the entire valley was visible. Jace saw the interconnected energy of the environment, the flowing water, the glowing plants, the movement of creatures, all forming a delicate but resilient system. The threat they had faced today could have destroyed this harmony if they had not intervened wisely. "You learned quickly," Lyra said, her glowing eyes reflecting pride and approval. Jace smiled, feeling a surge of confidence. He realized that humans could rise to meet challenges, even in alien worlds, when they combined curiosity, courage, and intelligence. As the sun set, casting golden light across the crystal forest, Jace and Lyra returned to the spring. The water glowed softly under the fading sunlight, reflecting their tired but satisfied expressions. Jace sat beside her, feeling a deep sense of connection not just to her but to the planet itself. "This is incredible," he said softly. "Your world, your people, it's more than I ever imagined. And humans, we can learn so much." Lyra's smile was gentle, approving. She gestured to the glowing water and then toward the forest, showing him that the lessons of the day were about more than survival. They were about understanding, cooperation, and the potential of life, human and alien alike. Night fell fully, and the twin moons rose over the valley. Their light cast shimmering reflections on the water and crystal trees. Jace felt a sense of calm he had never experienced on Earth. He had faced danger, learned new skills, and discovered the strength that came from trust and cooperation. Lyra hovered beside him, her glow soft and comforting. She had trusted him in the face of a powerful threat, and he had proven that humans could be reliable allies. Together, they had preserved the harmony of Zephyria, showing that courage and intelligence were more powerful than fear or force. As Jace drifted into sleep under the gentle glow of the spring, he knew that tomorrow would bring more challenges. Zephyria was alive, unpredictable, and full of wonders, and humanity had the potential to rise to meet it. With curiosity, courage, and respect for life, humans could truly achieve greatness among the stars. Lyra's playful smirk returned as she watched him sleep. She understood that their bond was growing stronger, and that this human, despite his differences, could become a true partner in exploring and protecting the wonders of Zephyria. The valley was quiet in the early morning light, but Jace could feel the energy of Zephyria all around him. The crystal trees shimmered softly, and the mist from the spring hung like delicate clouds over the forest floor. Yesterday's events had left him exhilarated and exhausted. He had faced a powerful threat and survived because of courage, intelligence, and cooperation. Lyra was already waiting by the spring, her glow gentle and reassuring. She gestured for Jace to follow her. Today, he sensed, would be the most important day of his visit, an opportunity to understand not just the wonders of Zephyria, but the potential of humanity in the universe. They walked through the valley, the forest alive with subtle vibrations. Small creatures flitted past, curious but cautious. Lyra led Jace to the edge of a deep canyon, where a waterfall cascaded into a glowing river below. The place was breathtaking, and Jace felt a sense of awe he could not put into words. What is it?" he asked, pointing to the canyon. Lyra gestured to the flowing water, the glowing rocks, and the air itself. She made a series of melodic tones which seemed to communicate both warning and opportunity. Jace realized that the canyon was a natural test, a place where only courage, intelligence, and respect for the environment could allow safe passage. He glanced at Lyra. I'm ready," he said, feeling both nervous and determined. The first challenge became clear as they approached the edge. A series of large, floating crystal platforms hovered above the canyon. Each one pulsed with energy, shifting slightly with the flow of the wind and the vibrations of the valley. Jace understood immediately. To cross, he would need to move carefully, in sync with the energy of the platforms. One wrong step could send him plummeting into the glowing river below. Lyra gestured for him to observe first. She stepped onto a platform, and Jace watched as her movements flowed with the energy. She did not rush. She did not force the platform. She moved in harmony, sensing the energy and adjusting her steps accordingly. Jace realized that the key was not strength, but awareness and patience. Taking a deep breath, Jace stepped onto the first platform. It vibrated slightly under his weight, and he felt the subtle flow of energy beneath his feet. He adjusted, leaning slightly, moving slowly but steadily. Step by step, he crossed, keeping his focus on the rhythm and the balance. Lyra waited patiently at the next platform, guiding him with subtle gestures and melodic tones. By the time he reached her, his heart was pounding, but he felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He had faced fear, adapted, and succeeded. The next part of the canyon challenge involved navigating a series of energy streams, fast-moving flows of glowing water that shot across the gaps between platforms. Jace could see that even Lyra had to focus intensely to cross safely. He watched carefully, then took his turn. Using the lessons of patience, observation, and harmony he had learned from Lyra and from his own experience, he timed his jumps perfectly. The energy streams pulsed beneath him, but he moved in sync, landing safely on each platform. When he reached the final platform, Lyra's glowing hands reached out, guiding him to steady ground. Together, they stood at the edge of the canyon, overlooking the glowing river and the shimmering forest beyond. Jace felt a rush of exhilaration. He had faced fear, adapted, and succeeded through courage, intelligence, and harmony with the environment. Lyra gestured toward the far side of the canyon, where a glowing path led deeper into the forest. Jace understood that the challenge was symbolic, a test of his understanding and growth. He had proven himself not only to Lyra but to the world, and perhaps to humanity as well. They continued along the path, arriving at a large open space filled with crystal formations, glowing plants, and small pools of energy. Here, Lyra's people had gathered. They observed Jace with curiosity and respect, sensing his courage and intelligence. An elder stepped forward, his glow brighter than the others. He extended a hand toward Jace in a gesture of trust and friendship. Jace bowed slightly, returning the gesture as best he could. The elder then made a series of melodic tones and glowing patterns, communicating a message that Jace understood through intuition. You have learned the ways of respect, courage, and harmony. You honor life and all living things. Humanity has potential to rise. Jace felt a swell of pride and humility. He had always dreamed of exploring the stars, but he now realized that exploration was more than discovery. It was learning, understanding, and rising to meet challenges responsibly. Lyra floated beside him, her glow soft and warm. She gestured toward him, then toward the village, then to the forest. Jace understood that she was showing him the interconnectedness of her people, the environment, and the balance they maintained. It was a lesson humanity could learn. Strength came not from domination, but from understanding and cooperation. After some time, Lyra led Jace back to the spring. The water glowed softly under the twin moons, reflecting their tired but satisfied expressions. They sat together in quiet companionship, sharing the peace and beauty of Zephyria. Jace spoke softly. I wish humans could see this. We could learn so much from you, from your world, from what we've done together. Lyra smiled, her smirk gentle and approving. She reached out and touched his hand lightly, a gesture of connection and trust. In that moment, Jace understood that their bond went beyond words. It was friendship, respect, and the beginning of mutual understanding between two species. As night deepened, the valley glowed with the soft light of the crystal trees and the spring. Jace felt a sense of calm and fulfillment. He had faced challenges, learned from an alien culture, and experienced the strength of courage, intelligence, and harmony. He knew that humanity, too, could rise to greater heights if it embraced these values. Finally, it was time for him to leave. His mission would take him back to his ship, back to humanity. But he carried with him not just data and samples, but wisdom, experience, and inspiration. He had seen what humans could become when they combined curiosity, courage, and respect for life. Lyra hovered beside him, her glow bright in the moonlight. She gestured toward the sky, then toward him, then toward the valley. Jace understood her message. The world was open, full of challenges and wonders, and he was now part of a larger story. He nodded, grateful and determined. I will remember. I will try. Humanity, we can rise. Lyra's smile deepened, and with a soft, melodic tone, she turned and disappeared into the forest, leaving Jace at the spring. He watched her go, feeling both sadness and hope. He had found a friend and a teacher, and he knew that their paths might cross again. Jace finally walked back to his ship, his steps steady and confident. The valley behind him glowed softly, a reminder of the lessons he had learned and the challenges he had overcome. He realized that courage, intelligence, and respect were not just abstract values. They were the tools that could allow humans to thrive among the stars. As he lifted off from Zephyria, leaving the valley, the crystal trees, and the glowing spring behind, Jace looked out the window at the world below. He felt a deep sense of purpose. Humanity was capable of great things, he thought, if it learned to combine curiosity, courage, and cooperation. And somewhere in the forest, Lyra watched him go, her smirk playful yet knowing. She understood that a new chapter had begun for him, for humanity, and for the friendship between two worlds. The stars stretched endlessly before him, full of potential and wonder. Jace felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. Humanity could rise. Humanity could learn. Humanity could explore, not just with technology, but with respect, courage, and intelligence. The adventure on Zephyria had ended, but the lessons would last forever.